Today on Stretch Your Kitchen, it's time to make stock. I'll share ways to creatively and thoughtfully use items you already have on hand to create delicious homemade stocks and broths in order to stretch your grocery dollars, minimize food waste, and serve up delicious food for you and your family. Great meals don't start in the grocery store. They start in your own kitchen. I'm Erica, and I'm on a mission to prove that thoughtful cooking isn't about buying more, but about using better. Welcome to Stretch Your Kitchen. I've been thinking a lot lately about getting older, and not in a heavy way, but in a clearer way. It's the kind of clarity that only comes with a little more life behind you. And one of the biggest things I've noticed is just how much time and energy I used to spend sweating the small stuff. The long lines that felt like an eternity at the airport or at the bank. The delayed emails when time seemed to be of the essence. The kids bickering in the background while I was trying to focus. And yes, even the classic, why is the toilet seat up again moments. At the time, all of it felt really big, important, worth the frustration. But looking back on it, so much of it was just noise, little things that added up to big stress, even though I had no real control over any of it. Life for a while felt chock full of tiny disappointments. And instead of letting them pass, I really held on to them. And I analyzed them and I replayed them in my mind. I let them shape my mood and my mindset and even sometimes my relationships. And if I could go back and sit down with my younger self, I'd say it so simply. Don't sweat the small stuff. Not in your relationships, not in other people's choices or their opinions or their behaviors. Because when you overanalyze those things, you don't just strain those connections, you sort of exhaust yourself in the process. But here's where it gets interesting. While I truly believe you shouldn't sweat the small stuff in life, I've learned that the exact opposite is true in the kitchen. In your kitchen, the small stuff is everything. There is value sitting right in front of you in the small stuff, and it's waiting to be used. And when you don't sweat the small stuff in your kitchen, that's where waste creeps in, and that's where grocery bills grow. So in this episode, we are flipping the script. In life, don't sweat the small stuff. But in your kitchen, well, I'm going to share why you should sweat every last bit of it in the best possible way. So let's dive right into today's Kitchen Quest. The Kitchen Quest is where I tackle new topics each week to help you stretch your grocery dollars, minimize food waste, and turn what you already have on hand into delicious, flavorful meals. What would you say if I were to tell you that you've most likely been throwing away flavor every single day? You might be thinking, I've been doing so much better. I've been stretching my kitchen. But let me ask you a question. Have you peeled carrots lately? And what did you do with the peels? Have you chopped onions lately? And what did you do with the ends and the skins? Have you cooked chicken lately? What did you do with the bones? Have you maybe peeled shrimp lately? What did you do with the peels? Here's a true fact. Every single time you toss onion peels or carrot tops or chicken bones or shrimp shells, you are throwing away flavor. The flavor is what I like to call liquid gold. So many people think absolutely nothing of it because after all, it's just scraps. But guess what? Your scraps are not trash. Your scraps are your next meal base. In your kitchen, you must sweat the small stuff. You must pay attention to even the smallest of ingredients that you have on hand. You must even sweat the scraps. If you don't sweat every item you have on hand, even the small, seemingly useless parts, you will inadvertently increase your grocery spending and waste valuable food. This episode is all about sweating the small stuff, your scraps, what's left behind, what's overlooked. You can take those and turn them into something rich and flavorful and incredibly useful. Because remember, the absolute number one stretch your kitchen rule: waste nothing, freeze everything. And that includes what you might have previously thought of as your scraps. Because those scraps, those bits that normally end up in the rubbish bin, they easily become the most delicious stocks and broths, which are the building blocks of not only delicious soups and stews, but gravies and sauces and cooking liquids. So let's take stock. Let's shift the way we think about stock for a second. Stock is not a recipe. Stock is actually a system in your kitchen. It's a way of closing the loop in your kitchen. When your kitchen inventory includes homemade stocks and broths, your freezer becomes a flavor bank and a waste prevention tool. And honestly, it's a meal shortcut machine. Because now when you go to cook, you're not starting from scratch. You're starting from depth, from richness, from something already built. Because stock is the bridge between what you had on hand and what you're about to create next. And if you really want to stretch your kitchen, you don't need to buy stocks and broths. And you don't even need to use up valuable meat and vegetables to make it yourself. You just have to sweat the small stuff, the scraps, the things that would normally be discarded, and use them to create flavorful stocks and broths for your kitchen inventory. So you might be wondering, well, what kind of stocks can you make out of scraps? The answer is every kind of stock. Yes, every kind. And I'm going to tell you exactly how you can do it, because stocks and broths should be a foundational inventory item in your kitchen. So let's start with vegetable stock. This is your kitchen clean-out champion. You save and use every vegetable scrap. You rescue them from a life of landfill decay and turn them into something delicious. Carrot tops and peels, onion skins and ends, asparagus ends, mushroom stems, tomato ends, cabbage cores, celery leaves, sweet potato peels. You can pretty much use anything. You can even use potato peels in vegetable stock to add an earthy flavor and reduce waste, but you have to use them in moderation and maybe add them only for the last 10 minutes of simmering to avoid making the stock maybe starchy or a little bit bitter. The only vegetable that I would avoid using the scraps of is strongly flavored or discoloring peels like beet peels, because you probably wouldn't want a red vegetable stock. Vegetable stock is a versatile ingredient, and it can be used in a variety of dishes. It adds depth and flavor to soups and stews and sauces. It can also be used in place of water when cooking grains or beans, and that really enhances the flavor. Additionally, it can be used to deglaze a pan when cooking vegetables or meats, and as a base for marinades or salad dressings or pan sauces. Vegetable stock is a great way to add flavor to dishes and incorporate more nutrients into meals. So, how do you make vegetable stock? Well, you just simmer your scraps, along with a couple of herbs like maybe parsley and thyme and bay leaf, and you simmer for about 1 to 2 hours. And you can even save your herb stems for just this purpose. The stems have so much flavor, but most people only value the leaves of the herbs in cooking. If you sweat the small stuff, the stems, you will increase flavor in your stocks and minimize food waste. When making your vegetable stock, you can saute or roast the vegetables first if you'd like to, which might provide a little bit of deeper flavor, but that step is not necessary. Once your stock is ready, you simply strain it and discard the solids. You don't need to worry about tossing those solids because all of the nutritional value of those vegetable scraps has been removed, and the entire vegetable has served you well in your quest to minimize food waste. What about chicken stock? This is a game changer. A great chicken stock is one of the most valuable building blocks in a home kitchen. Unlike boxed broths and stocks, which can taste flat or overly salty, homemade chicken stock offers balance and control. When you cook chicken, save the carcass, save the skin, save the drippings, save all of the bones. That is not waste. That is your next layer of flavor. Or if you purchase a rotisserie chicken, you can make the most of that rotisserie chicken because one chicken can turn into dinner on night one, then sandwiches the next day, and then the bones become a stock or a broth, which is the foundation for an amazing chicken soup. You are stretching that one purchase across multiple meals. To make chicken stock, you just boil all of the bones along with some of those vegetable scraps like celery tops or carrot tops, onion skins, and then you strain and reserve the broth. Now, you could also roast your bones first, but again, it's not necessary. It does add a little depth of flavor. I often make chicken thighs to use in things like chicken tacos or a pot pie or stir fries. And oftentimes, people, when they're making these types of dishes, might opt for boneless because it's easier. It's just cut and add to the recipe. However, I never do that. I always buy bone-in chicken thighs. I can add those bone-in chicken thighs to my slow cooker in the morning with some vegetable scraps and let it go all day. When I get home, I have a beautiful chicken stock that I can reserve for future use, and I have chicken that's ready to add to my recipes, like chicken tacos or a stir fry. It kills two birds with one stone. And bone-in chicken tends to be a little less expensive than boneless. That's a stretch your kitchen win. What about beef stock? Beef stock is the secret weapon in your kitchen that transforms very simple ingredients into mouth-watering meals. Beef stock is one of my favorites. It has such a deep, rich flavor. If you've never had a stew made with from-scratch beef broth, you are really missing out. Just save your beef bones, whether it comes from a steak or a chuck roast. Save them. They are not scraps. They are flavor. You can simply roast those bones to get that deep restaurant-level richness and then simmer it with some vegetable scraps. This will become your base for stews and gravies and braised dishes. An often overlooked stock is seafood stock. Have you ever wondered how one simple ingredient can transform a basic meal into something extraordinary? Seafood stock is one of those magical components that can elevate your dishes from ordinary to unforgettable. This one is fast and it's powerful. You can use shrimp shells, fish bones, lobster shells, and you only need about 20 to 30 minutes to simmer them. That's it. Any longer and the flavor can start to turn a little bit bitter. But in that short time, you are left with something incredible. Seafood stock is perfect as a base for a risotto or a pasta dish or a chowder. And here's something that you've probably never thought of before. I call it my odds and ends broth. This is one of my favorites because the flavor is different every time. Those leftovers from a homemade pan sauce, maybe a little bit of braising liquid, maybe a little bit of leftover soup. Don't toss it, freeze it, because that becomes the base of what I call an odds and ends broth. Just taste it, make a little note on the Ziploc bag when you freeze it of what that flavor profile is, and then use it
You waste nothing. So how do you get started in making homemade stocks and broths to bolster your kitchen inventory? I'm going to make it super practical because honestly, I know you're busy and this will only work if I make it simple for you. I want you to start what I call a collection of stock bags. Label them: one vegetable, one beef, one chicken, and one seafood, and actually one other. The other is where you can add your leftover gravies and sauces. Use gallon Ziploc freezer bags clearly labeled, and every single time you cook, you add to it onion ends, onion skins, garlic peels, carrot tops, celery leaves, herb stems, mushroom stems, tomato ends, all of those little pieces that normally go into the trash, they now go into your stock bag and always into the freezer. There are only a few simple rules. If you have vegetables that are starting to go bad, don't add those if they've begun to mold or rot, obviously. But anything else can go in there. So it's not just scraps, although we're not sweating the small stuff. So scraps are where the value comes in. Also, give things a quick rinse if they need it. For example, make sure you wash those sweet potato peels before they go in. And then keep adding to the bag until it is full. That's it. There's no pressure to make stock that day. There's no extra step in the moment. You've got time. You're just collecting flavor. And when that bag is full, that's when you make your stock. Because your freezer isn't a graveyard, it's a staging ground. Once you make your stock, you freeze it. And you can freeze in multiple ways. You can use ice cube trays for small portions or freezer bags laid flat. That's my preferred method because it takes up less space. And please label it, what it is, when you made it, because future you does not want mystery broth for dinner. Simply by sweating the small stuff, your kitchen inventory grows with delicious homemade stocks that cost you nothing. You will instantly begin saving money and minimizing food waste. So once you have a kitchen freezer full of flavorful stocks and broths, this is where everything comes together because now you can turn those stocks into meals. And this is where we bring in your kind of scan, choose, upgrade strategy that we've talked about in the past. You can scan your freezer. What stock do I have on hand? Choose what flavor direction you want to go in. That's where mood comes in. And then upgrade. Maybe add some heat. Obviously, some texture, some creaminess. And suddenly, that vegetable stock becomes a minestrone or a foundation for a tasty bean dish. That chicken stock becomes chicken and dumplings or a restaurant quality risotto. That seafood stock becomes a beautiful shrimp pasta or an inexpensive hearty clam chowder using canned clams. That beef stock becomes a rich, comforting stew or a beef burgundy sauce or a French onion pasta. Stock has a place in so many different recipes. Braises, soups, and stews are immediately improved when you replace the water or the store-bought stock with a quality homemade stock. A nicely glazed plate of pasta, a pan sauce, the perfect risotto, these all rely on a great stock. Sure, other cooking liquids like water or beer or even using a stock cube like a bouillon will do in a pinch. However, they can never compare in flavor or body to what you get with a well-made homemade stock. When it comes to making stock, it really is okay. No, it is imperative to sweat the small stuff. What others view as scraps, you use to create liquid gold. And when you do, you will surely stretch your grocery dollars, minimize food waste, and serve up delicious meals. So now it's time for today's culinary concern.
The weekly culinary concern allows me the opportunity to answer your questions and share more ways to help you stretch your kitchen. If you're feeling inspired, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. Visit stretchyourkitchen.com and please follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Stretch Your Kitchen for more tips, tools, and helpful takeaways to minimize waste and maximize flavor.
I know that there is a concern that you are probably having right now. This feels like a lot of extra work. It feels like one more thing to manage in my kitchen. Is it really worth it? Well, here is the truth. You're already doing the work. You're already cooking. You're already chopping. You're already using ingredients. This isn't about adding something new. This is about finishing the cycle, getting the full value out of what you already bought. This is thoughtful cooking. Well, I'm going to give you a way to make it easier. For stocks and broths, let the slow cooker or the instant pot be your best friend. In the morning, before you leave for work, or before you go out for your daily errands, throw it all in a slow cooker. Add water, salt, and pepper, and go about your day. That's it. It's so easy. At night, when you come home, your house will smell so good. You might want to eat it that night. But if you don't, just strain it and then bag it up in Ziploc baggies. It's fast, it's easy, it's economical, and it's delicious. I want to get you excited about making stocks and broths from scratch from this day forward. So if the economical benefits aren't enough and the idea of minimizing food waste isn't enough, let me give you a few health and sustainability benefits of making stock. First, homemade stocks are packed with minerals, from calcium to magnesium, and things like glucosamine. Basically, it contains all the stuff we've been told to buy in expensive synthetic mineral supplements for joints and for arthritis, except it's a cheap, natural food and it's so easily digested. Second of all, homemade stocks and broths are packed with gelatin if properly made and simmered long enough. Gelatin supports your skin and your hair health and your digestion. It tightens loose skin and is awesome for joint pain and inflammation. And another thing, homemade stocks and broths are the cheapest nutrient-dense food per cup. And last, homemade stocks make your food taste like a chef's food. They bring depth and flavor and richness to everything that you create. You can do it. And once you do, I know you'll never go back to those store-bought boxes and cubes again. And you'll feel great knowing that you are truly stretching your kitchen. So let's move on to today's Triple T takeaway.
Each week, I'll leave you with my Triple T takeaway. That's tips, tools, or tasks to begin implementing the Stretch Your Kitchen lifestyle. These simple takeaways prove that thoughtful cooking isn't about buying more, but about using better.
This week, it is simple. Make your stock bags. Just label them and don't overthink it. Add those bags to your freezer. Then every single night this week, whatever you cook, add to them. Don't worry about when you'll have the time to make the stock. Once they're frozen, those scraps are not going anywhere. They are safely tucked away for when you do have the time. And your wallet will thank you. So will your family when you pull out that delicious homemade stock and use it to create something flavorful and special. Again, there's no pressure to make anything yet. No big production. Just start saving. Because once you see how much flavor you've been throwing away, you will never want to go back. And remember, when you sweat the small stuff, save your scraps, you're building your next meals. And that is truly a way to stretch your grocery dollars, minimize food waste, and serve up delicious food for you and your family. That's all for this episode of Stretch Your Kitchen. Next week, it's time to break bread. I'll share ways to create easy, delicious, homemade breads to help you stretch your grocery dollars, minimize food waste, and serve up delicious meals for you and your family.
Thank you for listening to Stretch Your Kitchen. If you enjoyed this episode or feel that it would be useful to someone else, please leave a review on Podchaser and follow me on Facebook or Instagram at Stretch Your Kitchen. And remember, thoughtful cooking isn't about buying more, but about using better.